Okay, gang, this is the next to the last assignment for our class. We're going to be doing some Microsoft Excel today. We're going to be doing PowerPoint in the next couple of days, and we will be finished. We're not going to get to every assignment that we do in the on-class sessions, and that's okay because the on-class sessions have a much different way they work because of being face-to-face multiple days per week. So with you guys being online, we're going to have to modify a little bit of the assignments. But anyway, again, we're on the home page. From here we're going to the assignments. On the assignments, it's the Excel page. Yes, I know this is Charlie the Unicorn. It's just simply a placeholder, so you'll see another video and here's the actual one you want. But basically it tells you, hey, here's the video to watch. Down below you should see an attachment. It's called Practice Gradebook. What we're going to be doing is working with a Microsoft Excel gradebook. Color schemes. Let's keep this and don't show the message again, as usual. So once you get this downloaded, it should open up in Microsoft Excel, and this is what you see is a really big screen. Lots of names. There's 50 names. There's 49 names. Lots of numbers. Goes all the way across from side to side. There's a lot of information here. So this is just a bunch of made up names and numbers that I use to teach this. First thing you need to do, first thing you're going to need to do, you need to understand how you navigate through Microsoft Excel. Vertical are columns, horizontal are rows. Where a row and a column meet is called a cell. There's your cell reference number. It is column number, then cell number. If you want to at any point, you could go in and type in a cell reference, press enter, and it'll bring you there. So A1 is the intersection of column A and row 1. So the first thing we need to do is we need to select we need to select row 1, which is click over on the number 1. This is not row 1, this is cell A1. We need to click on the row over there. Then we can go up here and delete sheet rows. That gets rid of the first row. Gets rid of that one blank one that we've got. That's exactly what we want because we need to go through and make a couple of changes, and we're going to be typing notes to ourselves. Second thing you need to be aware of is you can add comments to this spreadsheet. If we do something and you're like, hey, that's neat, I really want to know how to do that. I want to remember how to do that. I want to make sure I don't forget that later. Easiest way to do that is, for instance, we're doing something with the final exams and you want to make a comment to yourself. You can right click and go to Insert Comment. This is Lab User because I'm working on this in a computer lab. If you've got your name typed in as registered user Microsoft Office, it'll have that there, but type comments here. Press enter, it brings me to another line. Now I click outside of it, it goes away. Now you should be able to see there is a red tab there, a little red triangle in the corner. That lets you know that there is a comment in the corner. You just mouse over and it'll show you that comment. So you can add those comments at any time. If it's there and you don't want it, right click and you just go to delete comment. And the comment's no longer there. So adding comments is a way you can type notes to yourself to remind you how to do things. Okay, first thing we need to do is insert a new column to the right of column A. So we're going to go to column B, click on the B, so the whole column is highlighted. We're going to go to Insert, and we're going to go to Insert Columns. That puts it in there, moves Final Exam over to the right. We now have an empty column here. So now if we click on cell A2, if we look at A2 it says Jamie Anderson. Well, if we look up here in our formula bar, there's this really long string of what this name really is, and it's basically a cell reference to another file that I used to copy this from several semesters ago. That's not really what we want it to show. Really what we want it to show is Jamie Anderson. Well, we have Anderson comma Jamie, there's no space there, so we're going to need to fix this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click and drag down all the way here to cell 50, and we're going to copy it. You know it's copy when you get the marching ants. We're going to move over to cell B2, and now instead of paste we're going to go to paste special. And what we are doing in paste special is we don't want it all, we just want the value. When we tell it to paste the value and click OK, Pops everything in there. Now if you hit escape, that'll make your marching ants go away. Now if you look here at Jamie Anderson, we have that really long line there, but if we click on this one, all it says is Jamie Anderson. That's exactly what we want. So basically we've broken the link between this huge long line that shows Jamie Anderson and now this just shows Jamie Anderson. So that's what we want in there. So now we need to, let's get these names and let's get these names cleaned up a little bit so that they look a little bit better. We're going to need 2 more blank cells. So we're going to insert. So we've got 2 blank columns there, columns C and D. So let's see here. Next we're going to split the names. So we're going to highlight all these cells. And again, I'm highlighting all these. You can just simply do this on B2 at one time if you wanted. In fact, let's do that. Let's just do this one and then I'll show you how to copy it down. I'll do one cell and we can work on it. But what we're really doing here is we're going to, what's called parse out the data. We're going to try and separate Anderson, Jamie into Jamie Anderson. So the way we do this, we're going to go to our data tab. We're going to go to the text to columns feature. And it is not fixed with its delimited. Characters such as comments or tabs separates the field. That's exactly what we want. It's not a tab, it is in fact a comma. So when we do that, we see Anderson, Jamie fits nicely in there. And we're going to have it simply finish like that. Boom. Now we have Anderson and Jamie. So that's exactly what we want. So now we can highlight all of these and do it all again at the same time. So text to columns, delimited, it's a comma, there's our 2, next, and finish. Boom. It just basically moves everything over there. So now we have first name and last name. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 names and we're going to combine them. So we separated them apart, so instead of it being Anderson, Jamie, now it's Anderson, last name, Jamie, first name. Now we're going to combine these into what you would probably want to see in your gradebook, which is Jamie Anderson. The way we go about doing that is with a formula. So we'll get back on our home tab so that we can see this. Equal sign always lets your computer know you're doing a formula. So what we want to do is we want this to be the first name, so we're just going to click on there, C2. Now we're going to use the ampersand, which is shift to the number 7, so we want it to be C2 and B2. Now if we press enter, we get Jamie Anderson, but we notice that it's run together, that there's no space in between. So in order to add a space, what we have to do is in between there we're going to put a double quote, a space, and a double quote. And then we need to add the ampersand back again. So basically what we're telling the computer is we want this to be C2 and a space and B2. So now when we press enter, we get Jamie space Anderson, which is exactly what we want. Now there's 3 different ways you can paste. I'll show you all 3 of them real quickly. You can highlight the whole column starting with Jamie Anderson and hit Control D. When you do that, you'll notice that it fills everything all the way down. I'm going to hit undo there. You can go have Jamie Anderson highlighted. You can move to the bottom right corner. Notice how it turns from a big thick plus sign to a skinny one. You can click and drag all the way down and that will do it. Again, Control Z, or you can copy and paste. All of them do the exact same thing. Whichever one you want to use is absolutely fine with me. So we're going to call this last name, first name, and this is just going to be name. So we understand what we've got there. Now, these 3 columns, A, B, and C, we don't really need them. This is really the only one we want to show. So we're going to take A, B, and C, and we're going to right-click anywhere up there. A, B, or C, we're going to right-click and go down here and we're going to hide these. So the first column we see is D. Doesn't mean that information is not gone. It's not disappeared. If we were to click on column D, right-click, and go to unhide, we should be, D and E and unhide. Oh, there we go. Click, select everything, unhide, and now they're back. So again, right click, hide, makes them go away, click up there in the corner, select everything, right click and unhide, and they show back up. So they're not going anywhere. All we're doing is just kind of hiding them, moving them out of the way because we don't really need them. So now we have one column that just has the combined first name, Jamie Anderson. If Jamie Anderson was in your class, you're probably going to call Jamie Anderson by Jamie. He or she, you're not going to call them Anderson. You're going to call the student by your name. So I prefer to have it look in my grade book the way I would refer to the student in class. It makes it easier to find them. So if I'm looking through grading papers and I see Taylor Franks, I'm going to know where Taylor Frank's name is. I'm not going to go sorting everything by first name or anything like that. Probably would keep it separated by last name like it is here, but Mary Beth Church is always going to be referred to in my class as Mary Beth. So you understand why we're putting it this way. Okay, now a couple other things that we need to do. First thing we're going to need to do is we've got more information than we can see on the screen at one time. We've got grades all the way out here to column AA. So we're going to take the final exam here and we're going to change the alignment. So if you go up here to this button right there, on the alignment tab we've got our orientation here, and we're going to grab that and move it all the way up to 90 degrees and click OK. So when we do that, it takes final exam, turns at 90 degrees. Now if we move between E and F and double click, now it's a much skinnier column of data. Now again, there's a couple different ways you could do this. You could go to all of these and highlight them all at the same time and go in and go to the alignment and change things that way. Again, that's what I think is a longer way of doing it. For me, the fastest way of doing it is this nice little button right here. It's called Format Painter. It goes in and takes the formatting that we did for that one tab and fills it across. So you can see there we've got a couple of them done there, and we'll go ahead and click Format Painter again, move it across. There we go. So now, last thing I want to do about this is we're going to get this to where it all shows on one page. So we're going to highlight everything from E all the way out to AA. If your letters are a little different, that's okay. It doesn't really matter. But we're basically highlighting from the final exam all the way out to the last class activity. Once you do that, move up anywhere between any letters. I'm going to pick between J and K. You'll notice how your mouse turns to a double arrowed pointer. It's a bar with an arrow pointing left and right. If we move our cursor there and double click, it reduces the width of all of these grades down to whatever the widest item is. And somebody made 100 in probably almost every one of the assignments. So there's enough room for everything to be shown. So that makes it much easier to see all the way across from left to right. We can see from the final exam all the way out to the last class activity. So every grade, there's 12 quiz grades, there's 5 writings, there's 5 class activities. So those 22 grades are easily shown on one screen, 23 with the final exam. It's a lot easier to show them that way than it is trying to scroll back and forth, which is another just one of those things that you may not want to do. So another thing is when you scroll down through here, if I'm looking at Justin Robinson's grade, and I want to know, well, we made a 0 here. What quiz was that? Well, if I'm not sure, I can scroll up. Well, no. Okay, now it says K. Now is it quiz 6 or? Okay, you see how it's a little bit more difficult to find this. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to do what's known as freezing the columns. Okay, the freezing the columns is done on the View tab, and we're going to go to View, and we're going to go to Freeze Panes, and we're going to freeze the top row. When we do that, you'll see it pops in this black line all the way across. And all that means now is when we scroll, as you'll see, we're on row 8 here, but the top ones haven't changed at all. So now if we wanted to go down here to Justin Robinson, we can move Justin all the way up here to the top, towards the top of the page, and we go, oh yeah, that 0 is on quiz 6. And he didn't really do any of the class activities, so he must have stopped coming to class. We can look and find those kinds of things. It's a little more difficult to find that if you're looking for somebody at the bottom of the list and they're already off the bottom of the page. So freezing the panes allows you to just freeze the top, or again, you have a couple more options with freeze. You can freeze the first column if you wanted, but the way we prevented having to do that was by reducing the size of these, turning them sideways, and moving them that way. So